Hi, it's I Love Sock Monkeys, and I wanted to make a video instead of writing everybody an email, so I apologize for that. It's kind of in regards to the video I made, and I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. My two favorite subjects. I kind of wanted to tell you a little bit about my kids, and maybe a little bit about me too. My kids were born early, of course. Ryan is now 9. He has cerebral palsy. He has a form called spastic diplegia. He was born at 32 weeks. He was in the hospital about a month. His main problems were basically being able to breathe, and he had a hyperbilirubinism, which is mainly just like jaundice when the babies are yellow. He had it really bad. He pretty much passed all the bad things that are supposed to happen to babies, like they told me he was going to have a blood transfusion. Well, at first they told me that he might not make it. And then they said that he might need a blood transfusion, which he didn't, and he never had to have the tube put down his throat to breathe, and he didn't. He pretty much did pretty good, considering all the odds that he had to beat, and apparently being a boy he had worse odds than being a girl too. He did very well. They did a CAT scan on his brain and said that he had a shadow over his brain, and apparently that was really bad, and I was supposed to follow up with an MRI, which I didn't until much later because he missed his milestones. I think they handed me books on premature babies, and they told me all this bad stuff that could happen, and for whatever reason I guess I was in denial. I didn't really pay attention to most of it. I just treated him like any other baby, and then he started missing his milestones, and they're like, you need to get an MRI done. And at that point, when I had the MRI done, well, actually going back, I had the CAT scan redone, and they told me he had encephalitis, which means that the ventricles in his brain were getting too much water, and they said he had a huge head, but just huge heads run in my family, so it turns out that he just had a huge head. But there was like a long line of starts that doctors don't know everything. But so he gets an MRI done, and he has this thing called PVL, and this is what caused his spastic diplegia, and it's periventricular leukomesia. And what it means is basically when you look at the motor area of his brain, which is like right here, it's wasted. There's nothing there. So whatever kind of motor movement he has is just, I guess, coming from different areas of his brain. But the rest of him is fine. He has above average intelligence. He's actually above average in his studies. He's my easy child, pretty much. He's reading at a 12th grade level. He's always been just really highly verbal. He does have ADHD. If you can imagine a child that's really limited in his motor movements, being very hyper, that's him. We didn't want to medicate him. We took him off the medicine, for example, like this summer, and just worked through that. We didn't have it, for example, at the beginning of the school year, and he got into so much trouble. He wasn't doing his work. I can't tell you the problems that we had. And put him back on the medicine, he's right on the mark, because my big thing is, if he doesn't have to be on the medicine, that's great. But he's just one of the kids that have to have it. That's all I have to say about that. But I was going somewhere then. I just lost my train of thought. My daughter's a different story. She's, like I said, Ryan's my easy child. Emily's a little bit harder for me. She was born early. She was in the NICU too. Her main problems were apnea, prematurity. She had a hard time breathing. She would just stop breathing. The alarms would go off. She had hyperbilirubinism too. she had a horrid case of diaper rash that they could not get under control at all. So a lot of times she's been under the lights just to clear that up. It was just, I mean, I can't even tell you. Her skin had welts, just raw, you know, and a 4-pound baby, and she dropped down to like 3 pounds just for her butt just to be totally no skin. But, you know, she came home and she wasn't even eating right. So we put up with that, and then she had reflux that was undiagnosed till she was 8 months old. She would scream literally all day and all night. She wasn't diagnosed with seizures, absent seizures, which look like ADD, where she's just like not paying attention to you until last year. No, the beginning of this year actually, and she's on medication for that. She's had 3 major seizures, 1 each year since she was 2. She has a major speech delay where she doesn't speak hardly at all. She speaks in, she's up to 3 words now, but she normally just screams and shrieks a lot. She has PDD, which is autistic-like syndromes, or mild autism, depending on who you ask. She's been assessed, and they say she's mildly mentally retarded, but you can't really tell because you can't really assess her because of her speech and language problems, delay, and then she's got the whole behavior issues of the PDD or mild autism. So, you don't know. She is in a special day class at school. She's gone to school since she was 2. I didn't send Ryan into school until he was 3 because we had the option. Both of them have been in therapy since they've been 8 months old, and that was through early intervention. And they've had private therapy too. Ryan takes occupational therapy, physical therapy. Emily takes occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech. Hers is mainly we try to work on speech. She has a lot of fine motor problems. Ryan does too. We just found out that she has dystonia. Trying to figure out what's wrong with her. She's a lot of different features that could possibly be genetic disorder. We're kind of like not sure. So we've done some extensive workup on her, me, and my son. Kind of ruled that out pretty much. I don't really think that's it, but we're trying to make sure that she doesn't have some metabolism problem or something like that. So she's had like ungodly amounts of stuff done to her, blood work, telomere testing, on and on and on. Doing all this, found out that I have dystonia too. I have major migraines, so I have cervical dystonia. So that was interesting. Let's see. What can else I tell you about? We're a military family, so we managed to move every 2 or 3 years. This is the first time we've been on the West Coast. We're normally on Virginia, that East Coast side. So it's always interesting learning the new state rules, trying to fit in the different things working out with the school system. The government insurance, not really insurance, but what most people would consider insurance, trying to describe that, it's always a challenge. The whole military family is different. Not only do the kids have to adjust to having a disability, they have to adjust to being a military family. They have to learn to make new friends. My son's had a really rough time this year because, well, actually it was last year because we've been here a year. We had a lot of hard times with bullies. He uses crutches to go to school. I'm not sure how long this is. I'll tell this story, then I'll click back. he had a lot of hard times with bullies. He was when we first got here, he was pushed down a lot. Um, they called him all kind of names, like really derogative things. They pushed him down. They harassed him at school. Um, God, it was horrible. Um, I'm gonna leave that alone here because it's kind of like a generic introduction thing, and then I will go into some of the alternative things that we did and kind of go into some of the stuff on the video. But that should kind of address sort of the generic overview of the kids. So I'm gonna leave it there. See you in a little bit.